Hi, I'm Nikki Scott, the founder of Scotty's Little Soldiers. For those of you that don't know, Scotty's Little Soldiers supports bereaved British Forces children. And one of our patrons is Richard Jones. And I'm really honoured and chuffed that Richard could join us today, as we've got some questions for him. So the members that we support live all over the country, and they're currently obviously all staying at home. We've even got a couple of kids actually in Australia and Germany, and they've all been sending in their questions for Richard. So I'm going to ask Richard them now. So hi, Richard.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, thank you. Thank you for joining us. And I'm sure you're so busy right now that it was hard to fit us in, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'm so busy, stuck indoors. Yeah, absolutely nothing on my agenda right now. Yeah. You got all the time. We can take days to record this if you want.
Oh, right. I'm going to crack on then. So the first couple of questions were actually about your time in the army. And Brooks actually recorded a message. So Brooks 11, and this is her question.
Hi Richard, it's Brooke. I know you're an amazing magician, but I wanted to ask, have you always wanted to be a soldier?
It's a great question, and yes, I always wanted to be a soldier. So my family has a long history of being in the forces. So all of my grandparents were in the forces, and my mum and my dad met while they were in the army. And then my brother is also in the army. He's a bomb disposal expert in the Royal Logistics Corps. And the only person who is separate from the forces is my sister. But she's in the police, so we let her off because the police is still pretty cool. It's a very important job still. So apart from that, I was the only one left. I'm the youngest. So when I think when I was 19, I signed up to join the army, and I think I actually got into the army when I was about 20. But I always grew up watching things like the Royal Tournament and big. I used to go to big parades and stuff with my parents, and nothing beats the rush of seeing like a British Army band and the soldiers marching through the streets. It's such a powerful thing. My family's always had such a big respect for the forces that there was no doubt I was always going to be in the army. And it's why I'm still technically in the army now. I don't want to leave. I'm hanging on for as long as I can. I don't want them to kick me out just yet.
Is that why you wanted to be a patron of Scotty's as well? Because of the army?
So, yeah, actually, it's a good question. I was thinking this morning. I was trying to think of the first event, the first time that I met yourself and got involved. It's been a number of years now. I think it was 2016. I originally spoke with yourself, as far as
I remember the first time, actually.
But it is an absolutely fantastic what you do. And I remember the first event that I went to with you. You can't forget it because it was the Queen's Garden. I went to Buckingham Palace to do a bit of entertaining when a number of the Scotties were invited to go and to a cocktail reception out in the sun with, I believe it's Prince Harry and Will and Kate, I think, were there as well. And I got to meet lots and lots of the Scotties there. And I think when I first wanted to get involved, I think it was mainly because I thought I could put some smiles on faces and give some people some interesting things to watch. But actually, I found that I end up probably with the biggest smile on my face after these events, especially the yearly party we have in is it Warwick? It's that kind of way, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the fundraising Scotty Ball. Yeah, and then I know you also come to our Christmas party as well. So
we always have a wild time, and it's fantastic. And yeah, I always have lots of memories from that. And obviously the Christmas children's party that you do, I remember going to the first one of those. This huge place that you'd hired out that had lots of different rooms with. I remember doing supermarket sweep, which was amazing. I never thought I'd ever get the chance to play that game, but what a great day that was. Absolutely fantastic.
One of the things that we find from the kids the most is that they love feeling part of the military again and having that connection again. Obviously you're still serving, but are you part of lots of military groups, or how do you keep in touch with the military community?
Yeah, you know what? I think it's very important to keep in touch. I mean, I've got lifelong friends that even if I don't see them for a number of years, when I do see them, it's like there was never any gap. So I'm trying to keep in touch with my guys. I know the majority of the guys that I work with at the minute are very busy. They're helping out at the Nightingale Hospital. And the ones who aren't doing that are on standby. So they're all very much busy, and so at the minute I'm not keeping in touch too much. I'm leaving them to it because I'm sure they've got a lot to do. But I certainly miss the family, and I think that's important. What you guys do is, and something I noticed a lot more than I expected when I started doing magic and wasn't in the army as much, is you miss out on that family aspect. You really feel like you're a part of something when you're in the forces, and you are part of something. It is one big family. It doesn't matter what forces you're in, you're all one big family. And I think it's important to keep that. And the good thing about what you guys do is you keep the families involved in that same family environment. No one should feel lost or separated from that family because of the great work that you guys do. And that's why I wanted to get involved.
Amazing. And we're really glad you did. We've got Jess, who's 11 from Norfolk. She asked, what made you start magic? And Caitlin, who's 6 from Wiltshire, who apparently wants to be a magician, she wondered how old you were when you first started doing magic.
Well, I used to always go to magic shows when I was a kid. My parents used to take me to magic shows, so I always loved magic, but I was never very good at it. They brought me little tricks that I could learn, but I never really took it up until probably around 6 years ago, maybe 7 years ago. And it's quite a good story. It'll take a while, but I'm going to tell you the story. So I was working in Cyprus. So I was with the band of the parachute regiment at the time, and we were based in Cyprus for I think it was about a month. And Cyprus is amazing. You're in the sun all day. But when you work in there, after about 2 weeks of finishing work and going and sitting on the beach, it gets a little bit boring. So I thought, you know what? I'll mess around with a pack of cards. And there was one night where we were in this little makeshift bar in the barracks, and one of the guys was trying to trick out with a pack of cards, and the trick didn't work, and everyone thought it was ridiculous. And I said, I know a trick, and I put on like a David Blaine persona for this. So picture me and like, I know a trick. So I said to the guy, take out any card from that pack, but don't look at it. Put it face down on the table. He did that. And then I said to someone else, name any card. And he said, the Jack of Clubs. And I kept a straight face, and I said, turn over the card. And just by pot luck, it was that card. And at that point, my magic career started, because everyone went absolutely mental. There were people throwing chairs around going, David Blaine's in Cyprus, here he is. So from that moment on, every day, there'd be someone who would ask me to see a magic trick. Word spread like wildfire that everyone on the island the next day knew David Blaine was on the island, and I didn't know any magic tricks. So from that point onwards, I was learning every day. I'd try and learn a trick to stay ahead of the game. And then when someone would ask, I performed that one trick that I just learned earlier that day. And within about a month, I was doing bigger and bigger shows, and I blagged my way. So at the end of that tour, I was doing stand-up shows for big groups of people, and I just blagged the whole thing. But then after a while, I loved the reaction so much that I started putting more and more time into learning more advanced stuff. And then Britain's Got Talent turned up, and I thought that would be a good idea. So I went for it and got lucky. I was in the right place at the right time every time that year, I think.
Wow, that's amazing. So within a year were you on Britain's Got Talent?
Probably within about a year and a half, maybe 2 years.
Crazy.
Yeah. And you know what, it's funny because sorry if I'm waffling, but
That's good.
it was at the start of 2016. I remember making a plan that I decided that I wanted to try and perform magic on TV. Mm-hmm. So I applied to literally every TV show that was on at the time. And honestly, you should do this. If you want to do something like that, you want to be on TV, apply to everything, because I managed to get myself on The Chase. I don't know if you watched The Chase, but I think it aired 2016. I was on The Chase with Bradley Walsh, and I did a little trick for him. And then about 2 months after I filmed that, I got on another show called Pick Me, which was a fancy dress show, which was the weirdest show ever. I don't even know. I still don't understand what the rules were. But I went on that and I did some magic on that. And then it was about 2 months after that I saw the adverts of Britain's Got Talent. So then I auditioned for that. And it's all down to the fact that I just thought, you know what, I'll try and get myself out there. And I just blanket emailed it everyone, and probably emailed about 60 different shows, and I only got 3 of them, but those 3 were pretty cool.
Yeah, and look at what one of them done. Yeah, that's incredible. Okay, we've now got Austin's got a message for you, so we're going to show you Austin's message.
Hey Richard, I've got my question for you. What was the first trick you ever learned? Hope you answer. Bye.
Ooh. Oh, which is probably what you said.
Yeah, the first. Oh, yeah, that's a good question.
One that you didn't blag, that you actually did learn.
Probably that one. I still can't do that one, actually. Yeah, I'm no good at that. The first trick I learned would have been a card trick, which is not the greatest of answers to that, but it would have been a card trick. I'll find out. You know what? I'll find out, and I'll make a little video of that trick, and I'll send it to you. And maybe I'll do a video of how to do it as well. So was it Oscar?
Austin.
Yeah. I'll do a little video teaching Austin how to do that one trick.
I love that. Apparently, he came to see you actually, and he entered a competition and won your magic set.
Oh, no way!
Yeah.
Great. Well, I hope you learned some tricks from it. Next time I see you, Austin, I want to see some magic tricks.
Yeah. That's cool. And then Elizabeth and Isabel, so they're really young Scotty members, so they're 4 and 6. They'd like to know how long it takes you to practice your magic tricks, and is it really hard or really easy?
It's a great question. Magicians would hate me if I said it was easy. Every magic trick is very different. Some magic tricks, I'll come up with an idea, and within maybe an hour, I've worked out a way of how to do it, and I'm already trialing it and performing it. Whereas there's other tricks that take me years. So there's a number of tricks in my tour show at the minute, which are ideas that I thought of 2 years ago, but I've never really found. It took me a long time to figure out a way of performing those in a way that people would love and enjoy. And yeah, some of those tricks have taken probably 2 years to get into the show. So it very much depends on how big the trick is, and how much sleight of hand and how much misdirection and how much audience interaction is needed to make it work. That's what takes the time.
Because that's the thing I've noticed about you actually when I've seen you perform is it is performing, isn't it, as well as doing the magic trick. You do put on a performance.
Well, I think that something I try to remember and I try to remind people is I don't necessarily class myself as a magician. I'd much rather be known as an entertainer, like a performer, because I think sometimes magic isn't the right thing for what people want to see. Sometimes if you have a show and there's too much magic in it, it kind of devalues every piece of magic you put in it. Whereas if you have a few really powerful pieces of magic, but you combine it with some light-hearted jokes and audience interaction, it makes the show much more interesting. And I always tell magicians, some magicians spend, including myself over the years, I've spent many weeks, for example, learning one tiny little move, like a card move or something sneaky. And what's interesting is 90% of the sleight of hand that a magician learns, he's learning so that no one ever sees that move. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you spend your whole life developing something so clever that no one will ever see it. And that's the bizarre thing about magic, is you try your best to dedicate your life to learning something that's so cool that you never want anyone to see what you've just done, which makes no sense. I'm sure there's no other art form where you spend so much time to not show anyone that move you spent all your life learning. But I think it's more about the entertainment value. I think it's good to make people laugh. I think
definitely.
To do.
So Sebastian, who's 10 from Scotland, wants to know if you do you go to any like magician festivals or anything like that with other magicians?
You know what? I shouldn't say, because anyone who's not a magician shouldn't know that these things exist.
Oh.
But there is a thing called magic conventions, and there's a very famous one I think it's the biggest in the world, that they hold in Blackpool every year. So if you live near Blackpool, I think it's mid-February every year, you'll notice a big influx of people who I'm sure you could probably tell are magicians. Most of us go around with top hats and white gloves, and doves follow us everywhere. You'll be able to tell there'll be thousands of magicians suddenly flood Blackpool in February. And I try to go every year. I missed last year, but yeah, if you're ever there, whoever asked that question, if you're ever there in February, look out for me.
Okay. He also wanted to know, actually, he sent in a few questions. So he also wanted to know, what's your favourite trick to do and how long have you been doing it? And do you have any messages for anyone who wants to be a magician when they're older?
Good question.
So what's your favourite trick, first of all, we said?
So my favourite trick, I'll show you I'll perform one of my favourite tricks, but my most favourite trick is a new trick that I've got in the end of my tour show. So it was probably around January I came up with this concept of trying to thank everyone who deserves thanking in the country. So I've got a big routine at the end of my show now that is dedicated to all the forces, as well as the NHS, the police, the fire service. And I have this whole 10 minutes where I perform magic that's all dedicated to all of those special people who keep us safe, which I'm sure is going to be even more powerful when I perform it when we're all back, especially after the fact of what they're doing now. But obviously you have to come and see that to see that trick. But I feel like I can't leave you with that. So I'll show you a pretty cool trick. Now I can only see a tiny thumbnail of myself. So just let me know if I'm out of shot or anything. But I'm going to show you a quick trick here. This is one of my favourites, and it's also one of the favourites that people ask for, mainly because it involves cash. Okay, any magic trick you can do with cash, people will love. So I've got here 5 lottery tickets. Now I don't know if you play the lottery. Do you play a lottery, Nikki?
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah. Do you have any lucky numbers?
No.
Give me one lucky number.
I'd be a millionaire right now, wouldn't I?
All I need is one lucky number.
Oh, okay. Number 2.
Number 2. I'll give these a spin like this, and 2 is a lucky number. You'll see that all of those tickets just turn straight into cash. You only needed the one number there. So this is a favourite of most people, mainly because after I perform this trick, I usually give this to the person who asks.
Of course.
I'm kidding.
Here, put it in the post to you, Sebastian.
Yeah. Come to the show, see my favourite trick. Maybe I'll perform that one for you as well.
And what about a message for anyone who wants to be a magician when they're older then?
What I would say, apart from getting a Richard James magic set, which is a big step forward, I would say don't be worried about failing. So I think the most important thing in my success was the fact that when I first did that trick way back in Cyprus, I was lucky that after that time, I was performing the trick every day, but they weren't always working. And what I was quite lucky to find out, that the team of guys that I was working with were so good that even if the trick didn't work, they didn't give me I expected a lot of stick of them. Oh, you're rubbish, but it wasn't like that at all. They were very supportive. And I realized that most of the fears that I had of performing and trying out new things were unjust. I didn't need to worry about performing, because if it doesn't go right, if it doesn't work, it doesn't really matter. No one gets hurt, and no one's going to feel bad against you because you're trying to entertain them. You can never be in the wrong trying to make someone smile. So my advice would be learn a trick and try and perform it to as many people as you can, and you learn the most when you perform. And in fact, to be honest, you learn the most when it doesn't go right, because then you learn how to do it differently. And like, I'm sure, like, the amount of times I perform from like a trick for my mum or my dad, and now I'm sure they probably hate magic, but it helps. Every time I learn a new trick, I'll perform it for people I know, to try and perform it as many times as I can and get feedback from them before I then go perform it at a show. And that's where you learn the most. So don't be worried about failing. Even on stage, sometimes my tricks go wrong, but I've learned to blag my way through pretty much anything. So if it ever does go wrong, I like to think no one would notice, because I'll be able to blag my way around it and change the ending. But yeah, don't be nervous. Get out and perform.
Cool. Okay, we've got Jamie, who's 12, from Suffolk now, with a question for you in a video message.
Richard, I'm Jamie. Were you more nervous for the first audition on Britain's Got Talent, or were you more nervous for the finals?
So I was most nervous definitely in the final, but there was a good reason for that. The final, I was telling a story about my good friend Fergus Ancorn, and it was a story about his life. And obviously I was going to then make Fergus appear on stage to give him credit for being a fantastic man that he was. And that was the most pressurizing thing I've ever done, because ordinarily, if I go on and I perform a magic trick and it doesn't work, that looks bad on me. But if I go out and tell someone else's story and try and big someone else up and then I mess it up, there's no recovering from that. So I was very, very nervous. And interestingly, I wasn't that nervous on my first audition, and there is a story behind that. And this could be a key for anyone who has nerves. And that is, I turned up for the first round of Britain's Got Talent, first televised round, in Liverpool Empire Theatre, lovely theatre. And I arrived at about 8 o'clock in the morning, and they said, you'll be on probably within the hour, so be ready. So I'm ready to go, ready to rock and roll. I haven't taken any food or drinks or anything because I think I'm only going to be there a couple of hours. And then 2 hours went by, and I started thinking, well, I'm a bit hungry now. And I said, can I go down the road and get some food? And they said, no, if you leave the theatre, you might not get your chance to be on stage. You've got to stay in here. And the hours went past on the clock. Hours and hours. I didn't get on stage until about 8 o'clock in the evening. And I was so hungry that basically all I had all day was one bag of Percy Pigs that someone gave me because they could see I was starving. And I had maybe one Percy Pig every hour until 8 o'clock in the evening. I finally went onto stage. And I think you can see it in the video if you look at it on YouTube. Like, I look exhausted. And I think I was so tired and so hungry that I wasn't nervous in the slightest. I literally went out there and all I could think about was, let's just get this done. And then I go straight to Burger King. And I tell you what, that really worked because I went out and that was the first time I'd ever performed magic in front of an audience that size, plus being on TV. It was probably the least nervous I've ever been. So the key to fighting those nerves is don't eat for 8 hours and only eat one Percy Pig every hour. All right. Obviously, don't really do that because that's really unhealthy. But it worked for me that one day. I would never do that again. But
so I've got a bit of a nosy question for you then, Richard. So doing Britain's Got Talent, you obviously met some celebrities, and then throughout like your career now, you've met some celebrities. Who's the most famous person you've got in your phone? Whose number have you got?
That's a good question.
It's a nosy question.
Probably the coolest famous person I've got Andy Peters in there, who I'm a big fan of. I think he's great. In fact, I did a gym session with Andy Peters, and my God, he's an absolute beast. He was on front page of Men's Health, wasn't he, a few years ago? And my God, yeah, I felt intimidated. Even as an army guy going in the gym, I was like, oh my God, this guy's a machine. But that's probably, I don't really have that many famous people's numbers, actually. If I ever need them, I'll message them on Instagram or send them fan mail.
That's cool. So Jess has got a question. She wants to know, what would you be doing now if you hadn't joined the forces or gone to Britain's Got Talent to do magic?
Wow. Something I would have loved to do and would love to do at some point, but I don't think I'd be able to do, is be a paramedic. I think what they do is amazing. The reason I say I'd love to do it, but I don't think I'd be able to do it, is because I'm not great with needles and I'm not great with blood. Whenever we do first aid and stuff with the army guys, I'm always nearly fainting. In fact, whenever I give blood, I usually, after about 10 minutes, have got about 5 nurses around me fanning me down and holding my legs in the air. And that's, if you ever see that one person at the blood bank, that's usually me.
At least you do it though. That's cool.
Yeah. So that's the vibe. In fact, a funny story. I went to see Darren Brown many years ago. This is just before I started learning magic, so probably 6 or 7 years ago. I went to see Darren Brown in the West End. And he did this thing. He said, I'm going to hypnotize the audience. I'm going to get you all involved. But if you're scared of needles, don't get involved, because this will involve needles. And in my head, I was thinking, he's not going to choose me, so I'll get involved anyway. So he did this hypnosis thing where everyone in the audience does this hypnosis thing. And then anyone who couldn't unlock their fingers, it's a famous thing where they get your fingers to lock together, and they do it for everyone in the room. And anyone whose fingers are locked had to stand up. And I still stood up because I thought, he's still not going to choose me. It will be fine. And then he came out into the audience, and out of probably 3,000 people, he chose me to go on stage. And then he did this thing where he got me to hold up my skin like this, and then he gave me a little sterile little needle, and he asked me to push it through my own hand. And I did it, obviously, peer pressure. You can't tell Darren Brown, you can't do that. And then, but my mum was in the audience, and she said the moment he pulled out the needle, all the blood drained from my face as I nearly fainted doing it. But I did it. And that's a great memory. And I haven't seen Darren Brown since, but I'm hoping at some point I'll bump into him and let him know that I was on stage with him and I was the guy who nearly fainted.
Yeah. Okay, we've got another video message now from Bella. So here's her question.
Hi, it's Bella. I'd just like to ask, who would you like to perform in front of?
Ooh, good question. That's a really good question.
I'm guessing you've performed in front of the Queen, haven't you?
Yeah, yeah, the majority of the royal family I've done shows for. Queen loves magic, by the way.
Does she?
Yeah, she's really cool. Harry's really fun as well. Now I feel bad, and also everyone in the royal family is great. In fact, I had Prince. I did a show a few years ago, and I had Prince William on stage with me. I'm not sure if I told you the story about.
No, I don't think so.
So I did a show in the Camden Roundhouse, and it was a really special occasion because Prince William was coming to the show, and I knew he was coming to the show, so I sent an email to the Royal Palace saying, "I know he's coming to the show. Would you mind if I use him on stage?" And it came to the day, and I didn't have a reply. So in my head, I thought, well, no reply doesn't mean no, might mean yes. So I went out onto stage, and Dawn French was also in the audience. So I got Dawn French up first, did some magic tricks with Dawn French, and she was hilarious, as she always is. And then I said, now we've got someone very special in the audience who's going to join us. And I said, Prince William's going to now join us on stage. And
how did you get away with that?
I wasn't expecting it. And he came onto stage. Now, at this point in time, bear in mind, you don't know who security are in the room because everyone's just dressed nice and smart. Everyone's undercover who's working with him. But I invited him onto stage. I could see a couple of edgy, big-looking guys. I thought, okay, that's probably his security. And then I got him onto stage, and I do this trick where I pull out a big sword. And that was the point where I knew, okay, that's his security, because there was a couple of panic-looking faces in the audience, everyone looking at each other like, are we going to rugby tackle this guy? And no one rugby tackled me, which I think is a bad thing, because I think I would have been globally famous instantly.
Yeah, that would have been all over YouTube.
Would have sold millions in the papers, wouldn't it? Me being rugby tackled with a sword and Prince William. But they obviously trusted me and let me carry on with it. And it was good fun. And actually, he was really funny on stage. People absolutely loved him. Got a huge cheer. And that was pretty special. But I can't think of anyone who I'd love to perform in front of. I'm a big fan of David Copperfield. I'd love to perform a trick in front of him, but I'm sure he probably wouldn't enjoy it. So, so that's as good as I can think.
Okay.
That's a rubbish answer, isn't it?
No, it's not.
Poor people. Let's say Ed Sheeran. I'm a fan of Ed Sheeran.
Okay. Well, if you ever organise to perform in front of Ed Sheeran, let us know, and we'll all come along.
Only if it works vice versa as well. Like if you guys get invited to his house for a big party, I want to be there, right?
Deal. Okay. Evie's got a question for you now, so we'll play her message to you now.
Hi, it's Evie. Who is your favourite superhero? Oh, and your favourite biscuit?
Those are great questions. My favourite superhero would be Superman, because if I could do anything, I'd love to be able to fly. And my favourite biscuit, that is a very good question. My favourite biscuit would be it'd probably be a chocolate digestive biscuit. Oh yeah, one like this.
I need to learn that trick. I so need to learn that trick.
It's not a healthy trick to learn.
No.
Get for about 100 packs practicing that one. There we go. But thanks for that question, because now I get to eat this biscuit. So I appreciate that question. Thank you, Evie.
We wondered what you like doing in your spare time when you're not doing magic.
So something a lot of people don't know about me is I'm also a pianist. So you might notice I've got a piano there. I've got nothing prepared though, but at some point I'll do a little play something for you guys. So I've been spending a lot of time doing that over the last few weeks while I'm indoors. And also I'm trying to learn the guitar. I've always wanted to learn the guitar, but I've never really put enough time into it. So I'm trying to keep myself busy with challenges. I've just joined TikTok as well, which I've seen you guys as well. I started last week and I'm actually really enjoying it. I've put some magic videos up and they're going down really well. I have had a few challenges. Someone's asked me to do the toilet roll kick-up challenge.
Yeah, okay.
Which I haven't done yet. I need to get around to doing that. And also a handstand challenge. I think you got to hold a handstand for 5 seconds. I want to take that challenge on, but I'm not sure if I'd be able to do it. But I'm gonna give that a go as well. But I was hoping I could challenge you guys to something.
Yes, cool. I'm sure they'd love to.
Challenge. Well, okay. So what I was thinking, if you're all up for it, which I'm hoping you all are, everyone out there has either got a talent. Well, you've all got talents that you can already do, or you've got something else that you would love to be able to do. and I'm going to set you all a challenge. You need to either get on TikTok, or if you're already on TikTok, you're a step ahead, you're ready already. I want you to either learn a new skill or perform a new skill, and you've got a week to do it. Let's set a date. What, can we set a date? Or how many days? Let's say 7 days.
Yeah, 7 days. Yeah.
You've got to record a video of you doing something interesting. It can be as weird, as wacky as you want. It could be a magic trick. It could be the toilet roll challenge. It could be a backflip, if you can do a backflip, or learning an instrument. It could be a piece on the piano. Absolutely anything you want. Upload it to TikTok and tag Scotty's Little Soldiers and myself, Richard Jones Magic, and hashtag. Should we do hashtag Scotty's Challenge? Should we do that?
Oh,
hashtag Scotty's Challenge. I want you all to get involved. Doesn't matter what the video is. Could be absolutely anything. Upload it, hashtag Scotty's Challenge, and then we can see it. And what we'll do, Nikki, if you're up for it, after let's say in about 5 or 6 days, we'll look at all the videos on TikTok, hashtag with that hashtag, and we'll choose a winner. And the winner is going to win 2 VIP tickets to my show. My shows, by the way, are September and October now. They've all been postponed. Whichever show is closest to you guys, you can choose. 2 VIP tickets, which means you'll come backstage with me before the show, and I'll show you some cool little close-up tricks, and then you'll have front row seats to the main event. And also, just because I can see it in shot, we'll also give you guys, I'll also send you guys a Richard Jones magic set, so you can learn some magic tricks while you're stuck indoors. But the only thing is, if you win, and you win this, by the time you come to my show in September or October, you need to have learned at least 1 trick from the set to perform for me. Does that sound like a fun challenge?
That sounds like a really cool challenge. Yeah, thank you, Richard. I know loads of them will be up for doing that. I was just going to say as well, if they haven't got a TikTok account, maybe because they're too young or something, they could maybe record it and then put it on their parent or their older sisters, and still tag us, and we'll see it, won't we? So that's really cool. Thank you.
Hoping some of the parents will get involved in the challenge as well. I want to see their talents too. And by the way, if anyone's worried and you're not sure what challenge you can do, what I'm going to do is I'm also going to record a quick video teaching you a couple of quick magic tricks that you can perform. So if you haven't got any other ideas, if you can't think of any other challenges you want to do, I'm sure we'll find a way of getting the link to you. It'll be a private YouTube link where you can watch me teach you a couple of little tricks, and then you can upload that as your challenge. So also let's do Scotty's challenge, and let's also do hashtag challenge accepted, because that's a cool one as well.
Okay, that's cool. Thank you, Richard. I've just got a couple of quick questions before we let you go back to your piano playing and guitar learning. Ed from Norfolk is a big fan. He's 14, and he wants to know, do you play video games? And if so, can the Scotty members challenge you?
You know what? Since I've been stuck indoors, I was quite lucky that a few days before that, I managed to get myself a PlayStation. Now, I'm very old school. I've got a PlayStation 3. I didn't realise that PlayStation 4 is where I should be at. So I do have Call of Duty, but in honesty, I've got no idea how the connections work. I think I have to have someone else who's also on PlayStation 3, which I'm sure no one is. I think PlayStation 3 came out in the 90s. I don't know. But yeah, so I'm up for it if someone can explain how it works, but I'm not sure if I can. But Call of Duty, I'm pretty bad as well, actually. I'm pretty terrible at it, but it'll be good fun if we can make it work.
Cool. Okay, and the last question is from Cooper, who's 6 and lives in Sheffield, and here's his question.
Hi, Richard. I bet you can make a balloon tank in 2 minutes.
Can I make a balloon tank in 2 minutes? Well, that is a very good question, and I assume for that I would need someone to do a countdown. And I'm unprepared. I would need some sort of balloon to make it out, but I'm very unprepared. What have I got? Oh, what's this? All right, I'm prepared. Right, start the countdown. I'm going to make you a tank out of this balloon. 2 minutes.
You're a man of many talents.
Yeah, you wait till you see this. You'll be very impressed. You've probably never seen a balloon tank before. All right.
doing.
All right, here we go. I'm nearly there. Okay. There we have it.
Oh, it's amazing,
Done.
Tank.
There we go. Was I in the time as well? That was about a minute. I had about 30 seconds to spare, I reckon. Now you might be mistaken. You might mistake it for a dog, but it's just the camouflage. It's a very, very clever tank that disguises itself as a little poodle.
I thought it was
So
a
there you
dog
go.
named Tank.
Is it? Oh, wow, that's a better solution to my problem. Yeah, the balloon named Tank. There it is. So that's the answer to that question. Wow.
Oh, thank you, Richard. Thank you for giving up your time and for speaking to us all. Hopefully that's made loads of our members smile, and we appreciate you being one of our patrons. So thank you ever so much.
Thanks for having me on board. I really appreciate it. And I'm looking forward to seeing the challenges.
Yes, me too. Yes.
We'll also now looking forward to eating this biscuit.
Yeah, okay, we'll let you eat your biscuit. Thank you, Richard.
Hashtag Scotty's challenge, tag Scotty's Little Soldiers and myself in it, and we'll have a look. And I can't wait to see the talents.
Cool. Thank you. Bye.
See you later. Cheers.
Cheers.